Call to order the February 19th, 2019 meeting of the North Andover Planning Board. First on the agenda, 128 Dale Street, Steve Mason. Request for release of a $4,000 performance G bond associated with an application for a watershed special permit under sections 4.136, 10.3, and 10.31 of the North Andover zoning bylaw. Applicant proposes an addition of a one-car garage, carport, and master bedroom expansion with associated landscaping in the non-disturbance zone. The project is located within the R1 zoning district. Monica, what do we got?
All right, so it's, as you stated, it's a request for release of a $4,000 performance G bond associated with an approved site plan, which the board approved back on April 3rd, 2018. After the approval, the applicant requested some insignificant changes to the plan. So what you'll see here is the as-built showing the changes. So I'll bring that up so you can cast it. So there are two changes that were noted. It was the moving of this. Here we go. Let me make it larger. Of this gravel trench. The approved plan had the trench on the right-hand side here. It was moved to the left-hand side. And also the approved plan had a roof drain that was going to in here. So the town engineer did the review of the plan. He spoke with the applicant in regards to these changes and said, oh, okay, the changes made sense. So so we deem the changes insignificant. Also in your packet, you'll see some photos kind of showing what the site looks like now. And I'll bring those up here. So this is the final trench that was which was moved to the left-hand side of the driveway. You can kind of see it there beneath the snow. Let me see, over in front here. Actually, let me back up. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me back up here. So in front of the house, there was going to be a downspout, but instead the downspout was moved to the rear here, so that would channel the water back there. So those were the two changes that were on the plan. So I don't know if Mr. Mason wants to give more information.
Okay. Monica, any issues?
No, not at all.
No more work to be done? Okay.
Make a motion to release the remaining bond.
For 128 Dale Street.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
All right. We won't make a habit of it. Next one, lot release, Windkiss Farms, Lot 8, Fletcher Tilton, PC, Form J lot release for Lot 8.
Okay, so what I'm doing is providing an update on this right now. But a little history. Back in 1996, the planning board approved an 18-lot definitive subdivision. The subdivision is known as Windkiss Farms. Planning was contacted last week by their attorney's office that requested a lot release for lot number 8. They were informed that a new Form J must be signed and stamped as it was not recorded. We were promised that this would be done by last Friday. We haven't received a new stamped Form J. We were contacted actually right before the meeting by a surveyor, said he wasn't quite comfortable with signing this form at this time. He had to do a little more investigating. So this issue may appear on the next agenda.
Okay. Yeah, this is obviously an old subdivision. I remember, I don't remember it super well, but my recollection now that I see this is Lot 8, you could tell is far and away bigger than the other lots, and I thought it was actually the farm. So I'm scratching my head because I'm saying, why would it not be released? Because there's obviously structure or something on it. So I feel like there's other stuff here that we need to sort out before we go forward with this. And you might want to go back and look at subdivision decision and see if there's anything specifically related to this lot that was stated. Because I know in a couple of the old subdivisions, sometimes there was a lot that was shaky for whatever reason, or it was held out for some reason, and we might have put a condition in there that, 20 years later, I mean, even, I was there then, but I don't really remember what we agreed to, so.
I did speak with Jean about it. She thought that it had been done later as part of a covenant, and it just wasn't really necessarily necessary, but.
That may very well be,
So,
yeah, so,
if they
but I
want
just,
to-
I mean, if it's just basically releasing the lot and nothing else is gonna happen, then probably in the end, it's relatively moot, but it's
Yeah.
probably just worth checking the file and finding out, yeah.
Definitely, once we get that information, I'll make sure that any additional information is included.
Okay.
Isn't there an equestrian center there?
On the actual farm there is, but this is a lot that's right before the farm that I think is actually vacant right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually thought that was where the farm, the old crest, but then again, it's been a long time, so.
Okay. So 495 Main Street, my understanding is that the town, or the applicants, wish to continue that?
Yes, to the March 5th meeting.
Okay. It's my understanding that new stormwater back and forth had gone on, but was still in the process, and we didn't have anything really
Yes.
definitive to bring to our attention at the moment.
Exactly. We received this response this morning, and unfortunately, no one has had a chance to review it. I do have an update that I can provide the board at some point when you're ready.
Okay. I just want Aaron to be here for this, so that,
We need
we're-
four, so.
right.
Right.
And Lori's not here, and she'll have to review it. So we're just going to hold. Mr. Preston will be here in about 10 minutes, and so I need to have 4 members who can hear this to hear that one, as well as 350 Winthrop Avenue. I need 4 members. So why don't we do the meeting minutes from February 5th? Motion to approve those, maybe?
I wasn't there.
Okay.
You have a form to sign.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve, we're doing the minutes?
Yes.
Minutes of Tuesday, February 5th.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute recess. Once Mr. Preston is here, we will do 495 Main Street. Like I said, we're not going to take any real substantive discussion on it. If there's anything you want to hand in, we're happy to take it, put it in the file, and discuss it at the next meeting. And then we'll do 350 Winthrop Avenue, and then that'll be it for tonight. Okay, so 10-minute recess. Just you guys, right? All right. So we're back in session. We waited for you on a couple items.
Okay.
So we've done 128 Dale Street. That bond has been released. The lot release got continued. We did the meeting minutes, so now the public hearings, because we need you for those, Aaron. All right, so 495 Main Street, Town of North Andover. The town has asked for a continuance. Stormwater review is still ongoing, but Monica is going to give us a quick update.
Yes. The last meeting, you requested a list of sites that you could visit and see the lighting. I finally spoke with the consultant today, who's trying to go through his list and figure out what are the best sites for you to visit. He did express an interest in finding a site that had a facility that was abutting a residential area, so he could get a better feel of that. He did note that most of the sites actually have their lights off this time of year, so he's trying to find sites where they're willing to turn on the lights for you. He has one that he thought would be good. It would be Boston College. He's actually going to see the site himself so he can assess the appropriateness tomorrow. He said he would get back to me. I reminded him that Merrimack College was an option. Basically, he's still working on the list. One thing he asked is that if the board could provide a time where they could commit to go, then maybe he might be able to work his contacts based on that. So as of right now, we have one possibility, which is Boston College. He said I would have more information for you tomorrow, which I could provide to the board as well.
I think the where is important to answer the question about whether we're available or when we're available.
So, but Merrimack was one of the ones on the list, right?
Right.
So why don't we just set it, I mean, I feel like we can call Merrimack and we deal with them enough that I think we can get on there and have them turn the lights on.
They have the light that's proposed or similar.
They were one of the photographs that were
Yep.
shown in the packet.
Yes, it was one of the examples that he provided. If the board likes, I can make a call to our contact there.
To put the thing I was thinking about, to put the thing in context, generally, the lights are going to be from the months of, right, like May through October, is that
Yeah, right, yeah.
where the days generally tend to be a little bit longer? So they're not proposing ever to keep the lights on past 9 o'clock, are they?
I think
In past meetings, there was no commitment to.
I think that's
the
something
time.
that would be up to the town manager. And
Yeah, but I mean,
discuss.
generally, my recollection is like all the ones they have today. I mean, even the ones like in Drummond, where they play softball, I don't think they keep them on past 9 o'clock or so.
Yeah, they do. I'm up on the hill. Yeah, they do.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah, my guess is some softball games go to like 9:30, 9:45 would be my guess,
10,
but I don't know.
10:30.
And again, at the last meeting, I think that was something they were leaving up to the rules committee to come up with that.
Well, to make recommendations, but ultimately it's the town manager to decide. So, I mean, would we be comfortable setting a site visit for Merrimack College? Let's just set a tentative date and time and call them and see if it works?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we got to do it in the evening. People prefer a weekend or weekday?
Weekday works for me.
Maybe.
As long as I'd say it was around maybe like 7 o'clock or
Yeah.
so.
So sometime next week, Wednesday, Thursday.
So, or even, I mean, from my perspective, as long as we know what night they were putting them on, you can go anytime.
Right, but I think if we tell, I think members of the public want to go.
Yeah.
So if we set a date, so like I'm
Yeah.
looking at Thursday, the 28th at like 7 o'clock, set it, see if that works. If we have to change it, we can change it. But something, I mean, any of the days really work for me if we're doing
Yeah,
it.
if it's next week,
Do you want to
Yeah,
give me
fine.
maybe a couple of options and I call our contact there and see which
Sure.
one works?
So let's do Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know about Friday, but
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday of next week, the 27th or 28th?
All right, so I will place a call tomorrow. Also, at the last minute, in regard to the photometric plan, the engineer stated that he received information today from the lighting manufacturer. It wasn't quite configured correctly, so again, he said he would have something to me by Thursday, which I could then send out. And so that'd be something you review for the next meeting.
Great. Okay. All right, so then, anyone, members of the public? Okay, great. 350 Winthrop Avenue. Both you gentlemen here on that one? Nope, just, what are you here for?
With the Eagle Tribune.
Oh, fantastic, okay. Hi.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Brian Dundon. I am a site civil engineer with J. O'Connell and Associates out of Stoneham, Mass. I'm here tonight on behalf of the project applicant, Delta NB LLC, care of Demoulas Supermarket, seeking two approvals. One is an approval to amend an existing special permit, and two is issuance of a new special permit as it pertains to property located at 350 Winthrop Ave in North Andover, Mass. So more commonly, the property in question is the North Andover Mall. A little bit of background: the shopping center is a retail type environment. It's about 233,000 square feet of mixed-use retail tenants, pretty much anchored by Market Basket, Kohl's, and TJ Maxx. The site currently has about 1,025 parking spaces and 2 access points. At the northerly end of the site, which is to my far right, there's an existing exit-only curb cut onto Winthrop Ave, and then to the curb cut closest to myself is an existing full-access curb cut that operates under a traffic signal control. The reason why I'm here tonight is that the shopping center has been cited for certain ADA deficiencies on the property. They specifically attributed to excessive cross slopes within sidewalks, the distribution of the existing ADA spaces that currently exist today are not evenly dispersed, signage, et cetera, et cetera. So we have submitted, as part of the site plan application, an improvement plan to correct these deficiencies. And what it consists of is saw cutting sections and portions of the existing sidewalk along the storefronts, saw cut and remove the existing sidewalk and re-pour it in accordance with ADA requirements, cross-slope requirements under 2%, et cetera. In addition to that, it also leads to regrading the main access drive and in the new locations of the parking stalls. So we have taken the grading to be behind the parking stalls, and it's delineated on the colored site plan. The edge of the dark gray versus the light is the limit of the grading scope. We will be installing new island end caps at the beginning of the parking rows to kind of facilitate traffic control movement. We are evenly distributing and dispersing the ADA accessible parking stalls along the entire storefront. That also includes the appropriate signage, the striping, and sign installation as well. And to top it off, we will be also adding some additional traffic control striping for crosswalks, signage for crosswalks, and the like, and then installing new landscaping and maintaining new landscaping within the landscaped islands. Upon the conclusion of these planned improvements, and should this board approve it, there will be a net reduction in the amount of parking available at the site. There will be a 14 space count loss from the existing conditions to the proposed condition. So it reduces it down from 1,025 down to 1,011. In addition to that, we will also have the ability, as a result of introducing the landscaped islands, is increase the amount of landscaping area on site by about 5,000 square feet. And we have also increased the amount of ADA accessible parking stalls available from 21, which is required, to 30 for the site. We have also, as part of our ongoing conversations in coordination with both the planning department and with the conservation agent, Ms. Hughes, is the stormwater structures on site, the catch basins and drain manholes, particularly to the catch basins, which are essentially located at the rear of the property. We have agreed to clean out the sumps and install environmental hoods on the outfall pipes to trap sand and sediment and oils and greases that get contained within the parking lots prior to their discharges to the wetland resource areas located on the northerly end of the project. A little bit of background from a permitting perspective. The planning board back in 1998 issued a special permit for this project for the construction of a 5,600 square foot addition to the Market Basket building. What was not clear in that decision, as I understood it, and in speaking with Ms. Enright on it as well, is the site then was deficient on meeting the minimum parking requirements, but the permit really didn't recognize that deficiency. So as we came in before the board to seek approval to amend the special permit site plan to perform these improvements to address ADA issues, Ms. Enright recommended that we also ask for a special permit to formally memorialize and document that the site isn't in compliance with the minimum parking requirements under Section 8.8D-5, common parking areas with multiple use facilities. One of the first steps that Ms. Enright asked us to do since 1998, there's been the use intensity has been changed. So what we have done is we've gone back and identified the active tenants at the site, broke them down by use, broke them down by minimum parking requirements that are required under the ordinance, and determined that 1,075 parking spaces is required to meet the minimum parking requirements per zoning. The site today only has 1,025, and we're going to be reducing, should the board approve the project, it will be down to 1,011. We have received written confirmation from the building department that based on the use intensity that was submitted, that the site was required to have 1,075 spaces. So what we did, the next step of the process was to assess if a 14-space count reduction would have a negative impact to the overall parking operation or the operation of the shopping center. So back in...
Where are the 14 coming from?
Excuse me?
Where are the 14? Is it the whole length?
Yes, it's essentially by adding in the island end caps at the beginning of the parking rows, we are losing those available parking spaces, because currently today they don't exist.
Okay, so but maybe like one or two per row?
Yes,
Okay. So it's spaced out across the property?
that is correct. So what we did is we determined to see if there was going to be a detrimental impact by a net loss of the 14 parking spaces. So back in April of 2018, April 24th of 2018 to May 12th of 2018, we went out and did a parking utilization study at the shopping center. We monitored both weekdays and weekends to get a handle on how much utilization or how intense the parking requirements were. We found that on a Monday in April, last Monday in April, was the highest intensity use during the week. And of the 1,025 that were available, 404 spaces were occupied, or a 39% utilization rate. Conversely, that following Saturday, April 28th, or the Saturday before the Monday, 493 spaces were utilized out of the 1,025, or a 48% utilization rate. So we feel comfortable that with a net loss of 14 spaces to implement these ADA improvements, that there will be no overall detrimental impact on the operation of the shopping center, or being able to provide parking for the patrons that wish to utilize that shopping center. So in short, so what we're looking for, I guess what I'm looking for, is to amend the 1998 special permit to construct the improvements as shown on the plan submitted, and then formally acknowledge through a separate special permit on the advice of Ms. Enright on the parking count deficiency that currently exists at the shopping center. Be more than happy to answer any questions should the board have any.
Well, I will say, my intuition was that your count came pretty close to that. I would have thought it would have been a little bit higher than that, but, you know, it's rare. The good thing is this is a place where everybody goes, so everybody's familiar with it. And, you know, other than the fact that it gets busy in front of the supermarket, the vast rest of the place is pretty empty all the time, really. So, but I wanted to ask you a separate question about the drainage. Could you talk a little bit about what you're actually going to do and whether you've gotten feedback from our consultant yet and so forth?
With respect to drainage, we're not really, there's no impact to the drainage system. In other words, we're not modifying it. Currently, the front of the parking lot actually sheet flows from the storefronts down towards Winthrop Ave, and it's intercepted through the intermittent brook that runs parallel to Winthrop Ave, and it ultimately discharges into the Shawshene River. In the back of the shopping center, there's a series of catch basins located within the truck turnaround areas and whatnot. Over time, if they're not maintained, they fill up with sands and sediment. So we have agreed to go in, pump out all the catch basin sumps, and then install, if they're not already there, environmental hoods on the outfall pipe to act as a trap for oils and greases. Instead of having that flow and discharge into the wetland-related areas, it's caught in the sumps.
I'm going to add that in terms of review, stormwater wasn't included in that due to the determination that the infiltration systems would remain the same, but also just to let you know that with conservation, they did have to file a request for determination with them as well. So there's.
The agreement that's being discussed, where will that be memorialized?
It would be within conservations, but we could also add a condition in ours as well that they would maintain these new
You guys good
hoods that he's
with that?
proposing.
Yeah, yes, I'm okay with the condition.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So we'll just add that. I don't have any question. I mean, ADA access makes sense, and I agree with John that, I mean, unless it's right in front of the doors to Market Basket, you can find parking spaces even on a Sunday morning, you know, which is a crazy time to go shopping that I sometimes go.
Before you go, because we didn't talk about department review, because this had to go through department review as well. So we already talked about conservation. The fire department indicated that their equipment and apparatus has unimpeded access throughout the site. The hydrants are not negatively impacted, and fire lanes will be maintained throughout the project. Police had no concerns, and then we talked about buildings. So again, at least 17 standard ADA accessible parking spaces and 4 van accessible parking spaces were required at a minimum, and they have 30 accessible parking spaces.
Any lighting changes?
No.
No, none?
change to the shopping center.
Any members of the public? Nope. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll continue it to the next date, which is March 5th. At that point, we'll take any questions or comments that there are. I don't think there'll be any. We'll have a draft decision, and we'll vote on it on March 5th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You got a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
What about minutes?
Did it?
Oh,
You weren't here.
why did I show up?
I don't know. What to do this?
For this, yeah.
It's a second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.